this time, I'll entertain a motion to come out of closed session back into open session.
So moved.
All right, have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right, I'll start the vote. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. At this time, I'd ask each of you to certify if you agree with the statement, whereas the Carroll County Board of Supervisors conveyed a closed session this date pursuant to the affirmative recorded vote and on the motion to close the meeting in accordance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, whereas Section 2.2-3711, A1, A6, A7, and A8 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of Supervisors that such closed session was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Carroll County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session to which this certification applies, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed session was conveyed were heard, discussed, and considered in the meeting to which this certification applies. I'll start the certification with Mr. Collins,
I so certify.
Mr. McCraw,
I so certify.
Mr. Early,
I so certify.
Mr. Hill,
I so certify.
Mr. Dixon,
I so certify.
and I so certify. All right, next on the agenda is citizen time. We'll start the citizens' time. Gina Hall.
I come to talk to you tonight about I work at Fitzgerald Peterbilt in Fancy Gap. I come to you tonight to talk about we have trucks that come in our dealership all over the United States, and we do not have the amenities to, we have to use taxi drivers out of Mount Airy, or we have to find somebody to come and get our drivers, to the drivers that come into our shop, to take these drivers to a motel. Most of the time we have to get a taxi cab out of Mount Airy to carry a driver 6 miles up the road. We have drivers that stay at the exit there on exit 8. We have the one motel, which has just changed its name to Motel 6. And if they want food, they have to walk to the pit stop or the Circle K. I'm bringing this to your attention because we have businesses out at Exit 8, and we're a thriving business. We sell trucks to Bottomley Enterprise in Mount Airy. We sell trucks to Cook Trucking. We have people that drive those trucks from Denton, Texas, and they have to find a taxi. Most time their taxi is found out of Mount Airy or there's nothing here, so we have nowhere to go for them to go or get Enterprise. Enterprise had stopped delivering and picking up the drivers or bringing them back to our dealership. We don't have the vehicles or the what we need to be as a courtesy to carry them the places they need to go. I'm just asking for help because I have drivers that are there. We close at 6 o'clock. We try to get them out because we lock our gate, and we're asking for help. We had a driver not too long ago from New Mexico, and he said, I really hate to break down at this exit because you all have nothing. We have no Ubers, we have no food, nobody that will deliver food out there. And we're really a really big growing business. I asked Ronnie to come out and look. He saw that our parking lot is completely full of trucks. And we're in a prime location. And I would just ask that if you all would look at Exit 8 to see if anybody would come in, start a business, or we could find taxi drivers or somewhere closer for these drivers, for them not to hate to have to come to our place.
Thank you. Mr. Bergaletta?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir.
Hello again, everybody.
How are you today?
Good. I hope everybody's doing well.
Good.
Just want to talk about the River Trail proposed project. Energix's willingness to misrepresent the truth in their public notices to the people of Carroll County and their attempt to fast-track getting the River Trail solar project approved without any real public review or county approval is a established fact. It's not just true in Carroll County. Seems to be the case wherever Energix has sought to develop their large-scale solar projects throughout rural Virginia. Prime agricultural land is a valuable resource and an asset that needs to be protected. Once agricultural land is converted to large-scale industrial solar use for 35-plus years, it will no doubt take many years and great expense to restore it back to its pristine condition, if at all possible. At the last Planning Commission meeting, there was talk of the proposed solar ordinance plan. One of the points being discussed was what percentage of the total land in Carroll County should be allocated for solar development. Prime agricultural land, prime agricultural zoned land should not be sacrificed for the large-scale industrial or utility-grade solar development. These projects should be developed on land within the county that is specifically zoned for commercial industrial use. Sacrificing large parcels of prime agricultural land will surely help to maximize Energix and Appalachian Power's profits. But how will it benefit the citizens of Carroll County? We need to ensure that the best interests of Carroll County are protected first and foremost, regardless of how it might affect Energix and Appalachian Power's bottom line. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Allison Taylor.
Good afternoon, Board. I want to start with a quote: "Where there is no accountability, there will also be no responsibility." 41 years my family has owned land on Water Plant Road, 14 of which I have actually lived on the property on Water Plant Road. First off, wanted to thank you, Mr. Moore, for taking care of the overgrowth problem on Water Plant Road where Bottomley leases land. It was the first step in making our community roads safer. With that said, I am highly disappointed by the lack of accountability, not only from yourself, but from our Sheriff's Department. I spoke to the board back in the summer regarding the safety and excessive speeding taking place on Water Plant Road. I was told by yourself, Mr. Moore, that we would get some children at play signs up on the road. It's the middle of February, approximately 1 year later, not one sign has been put up, not one. What's it going to take to see some change? What needs to be done? I'm also asking you, other members of the board, what needs to be done? Water Plant Road has become a very dangerous place to live in the last year. Excessive speeding, neighborhood break-ins, my house included, and not one time have I gotten any help from the Sheriff's Department. I will tell you who did help me, the town police, and that's sad to me. I see more deputies out on the interstate patrolling our interstates and posting pictures to Facebook than I do patrolling the neighborhoods and actually making a difference in the community where we serve. I may sound like a broken record up here, and that's okay, because I need to see change. I don't need false promises. I have young children who live and play on that road. My neighbors have young children who live and play on that road. Like I said, we run and operate a farm off of Water Plant Road. It is getting excessive. It's getting to the point to where people on our road know that I'm trying to make change about getting a speed sign. And just this evening, I was harassed coming up Water Plant Road for actually going the speed limit. I was going no more than 35 miles an hour on a curvy road. I have with me here a card to the contact at WDBJ7 who is ready and willing to help me bring more awareness to this issue. I have begged the Sheriff's Department. I've given them permission to come sit on my property and do radar. It doesn't matter to me. As long as the children are safe, the livestock are safe. Don't get me started about Bottomley coming through there with their big trucks. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Honeycutt.
name is Kelly Honeycutt. I appreciate your time this evening. My husband Billy and I live on Rainbow Bend Boulevard, which is located off of Marion Road in Dougspur. I know you all are aware of the clear cutting that is happening on Marion Road. We became aware of this clear cut when in January we almost ran into a logging truck going really fast on Marion Road. Then we suddenly saw road closed signs. VDOT then appeared for several days trying to fix what the logging trucks are destroying, which is Marion Road. Then we lost our mail service due to our mailman Richard not being able to get down to our mailbox, which is on Marion Road. This went on for a couple of weeks that we couldn't get our mail unless we called Richard to meet him somewhere to pick up our mail. Then we were asked to relocate our mailbox to the top of Marion, to the top of the hill on Marion Road. We did so at Richard's request, mostly because we really like Richard. We love our mailman. And we know how dangerous it is for him to continually go down that hill and possibly running into a truck and then getting stuck down there because the mud is knee-deep down there at the bottom of the hill where our mailbox is located. We agreed to have our mailbox put up at the top of Marion on the hill. It's mostly covered in mud on a curve that you hope a logging truck doesn't come when you are getting your mail out of the box. We can park our car and walk over to the mailbox, and mud is ankle deep right there in the road and near the mailbox, and we hope that we can beat the truck before it rounds the bend on foot. UPS won't come down Marion Road anymore to deliver our packages when it's too wet. Needless to say, this has created a lot of anxiety in our lives. And let me just add a quick note. I'm a 3-time brain surgery survivor since 2017. The anxiety that this road has created is nothing. I mean, it's massive compared to my surgeries. The land we live on now has been in our family for almost 50 years. We have been full-time residents for the past almost 8 years. We pay our taxes. Our frustration level runs high when I find out that the landowners that are doing the clear cut on Marion Road are located out of state. The Six Ketchum LLC company is out of Fruitland, Idaho. They own the property. The fact that Six Ketchum is a limited liability company means just about anyone could own that land. The benefit of an LLC company is a huge tax break. This is a personal gain project, but when we asked for a couple of loads of gravel on our road years ago when we first moved here, we were told by Carroll County that they didn't have money for our road. We're way past that. We got over that. We were also told that if we did any major repair to our road at our own expense, we would have to write a letter to each person on our road to get permission in writing. So my questions to you are this. First, why were we not informed about this clear cut before it happened? Why were we not informed in writing about the intention of the Six Ketchum LLC? Why are we being so inconvenienced with our mail because of a personal gain project? I talked with the VDOT representative last week, and he assured me that when this clear cut is over, they will come back and repair the road. VDOT has done their best in creating pull-offs because Marion Road is really a one-directional road. The logging trucks do not pull off. We have watched big track bulldozers pushing logging trucks up the hills. Is that even legal? I can't believe that it could be. We used to take our time to watch deer, but now we are cautious because of these trucks. We deal with mud caked on our car constantly. We are constantly dragging on the bottom of our car from the mess that's left by the logging trucks. We are hearing a possible July completion date. Gentlemen, that's a long time for us. I hope that each of you, I know one of you have come up to our hill up there on Marion. I hope that each of you will make a trip up to Marion Road just to see the mess. The trees are gone, and that's beyond sad to me. I know we can't put them back. I would like to know who will replant that mountain. Who's gonna replant it? I haven't seen any sediment traps in place to collect the runoff that is going into the small creek that runs into Laurel Fork Creek. I have heard more than once that Carroll County doesn't want people not to be able to make a living. My husband and I worked for years for our retirement. We love our little spot and feel like our retirement has been violated by this mess. Please see that this situation doesn't happen to anyone else. thank you again for your time.
Thank
Kelly's
you.
gonna come. Thank you.
David Riggin?
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank
Good
you for your time this evening. I want to segue on the last local citizen, what we're experiencing on Marion and Dougspur. I want to pause for a second and bring up a word that nobody out here wants to speak, and I understand the slippery slope, but it's called zone control or zoning. When I spoke to you before, I also told you I'm a country boy, and I understand we don't like our countryside changed. But there's got to be a happy medium, because lack of zoning control, to me, seems worse than zoning control. Because that means anything such as solar farms and wind farms, which I'm sure you guys are aware of, Grayson County is fighting this animal that's trying to come into their county, that's going to come in the most beautiful spots of their county and decimate the area. And I won't waste time going into the detriment and how wind farms and solar farms do not pay out. But to go back to this thing, it seems like we need to learn from what's going on today to help for the future. I don't see any way of stopping the 300-acre harvest that's going on at the end of Marion. I really don't want to go into somebody's property and tell them they can't cut down trees. Like Ms. Honeycutt said, the problem that really sticks with us is that private company from another state who could care less about this area is allowed to come in and decimate the forest and take the property values around there and just destroy them. I know a lot of my neighbors. They have spent their money. They are now retired. They've built beautiful little homes in there, and now they're having to look at a total clear cut. So what I would ask of the Board of Supervisors, because you guys are who we go to when we have concerns, and thank you for being in that position. I have done a lot of research, and some of the things that we'd like to make sure have happened, even though the gate's open, the horse is gone, is has the local erosion and sediment control department in Carroll County followed through with pre-permits? There are such things that have to be considered for all land disturbing permits, and I'm not trying to educate you guys, but I want to let you know I've researched and I understand what things that you have to look at and consider. There's also the Department of Environmental Quality, which goes back to erosion control. We do have a state watershed that this clear cut, as far as we know, without trespassing, and I haven't gone that route. I've been tempted. I want to go down there and see how bad this really is. But with respect to the property owners, no matter who they are, I don't want to go in there. But the county's job is to go in there, by the way, every 2 weeks, environmental control is to go in there and monitor all erosion control all the way through the job and job completion. The other thing that has not been brought up, and I'll be quick, thank you for allowing me a few more extra seconds, is it's come to my attention by some of the property owners that there is a antiquity site back in there that may be over 2,000 years old to Native Americans. And so one of the things I researched is to find out about the, it's a county code 216-33, which requires preservation of historical sites. Has this been brought up as part of the permitting process and the inspection of the site? The roads, you've heard from other people, and I understand we have a gentleman from VDOT tonight, and we have spoke with VDOT. We appreciate what they're doing. They're fighting an uphill battle with the season where the roads are not frozen. But again, we are the ones living there trying to get up and down these roads, and it is quite a mess, as I'm sure Mr. Early can attest to. Whatever we can glean from this gentleman to better the future is my desire. So with that, I yield, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Diane? All right. All right. Next on the agenda is VDOT. Brother Lefford. Good, sir. I do have a couple of things, too, that was brought up during citizens' time, which I know you're here to speak on behalf of VDOT and stuff on that road. Ms. Taylor spoke about water plant. And I did, I wrote you out to Brad last week, and y'all don't do children at play signs no more, correctly? Is that correct?
I can't tell you yes or no on
I
that.
heard that they're coming through the Lions Club maybe
I
now?
think that's, if I recall, that's the way that they were coming through.
Okay,
Because as I recall, a couple of years ago, we had that same request come up on another road,
okay,
and it was the locality. But on that road, I have already requested a speed study on
mhm.
it to have it posted at 35,
He told me
or possibly lower.
he told me last week on that, and we can get hold to Mr. Hill, get the ditches mowed, so. All right, you can move on with your presentation.
Any other questions? Okay, first off, the Carroll County High School Smart Scale project, the sidewalk project that we had down on the practice field down there, it has been recommended to the CTB for approval, which means that that'll be brought up at the spring transportation hearing. It's highly recommended that we have somebody from the county there to advocate for this,
Okay.
so that we can secure those funds to build that.
When will that be?
It has not been set yet, but I will let you know just as soon as we find out.
Okay,
The March, your meeting next month, I intend to have a draft 6-year plan here for you for the roadway, the 6-year improvement plan, and the resolution of support for the rural rustic projects we're going to build this year. In April, we're going to have the public hearing for the 6-year plan. That will be, I believe, at your April 10th meeting.
yes.
And the accidents down here on 58, the school bus accident, Lisa informed me today that they installed the school bus stop ahead warning signs in that area. And we have 5 projects this year on the rural rustic.
Okay,
We have 2 held over from last year. We're waiting on permits on those. And I have 1 on the list this year. I've already applied for the permit on it. But it may be a year down the road before we get the permits secured.
okay. All right. On this road, what can we do on it?
Well, Lisa has told me that what we're going to do is let them go ahead and get their logging operation done.
Mhm.
Then we're going to go back in and we're going to repair the road and bring it up to where it's passable.
Okay.
But like the gentleman said, it's been a warm winter.
I understand.
Those springs out there, you go out there and you can see the spring water just in the middle of the road coming up, and you're not going to hold the road carrying those weights.
Is it just for the roads breaking down, or are they tracking mud from their job onto the state road, or how is
It's
that?
the roads broken down. This is really what it is. They went in, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and rebuilt that hill coming from the bottom to the top where the mailboxes are at, the police lady spoke about. And, I mean, they went in there and built that back. They put a big base in there, they put big rock in, they put fabric in. And it's just, you're not gonna hold it until that ground dries out. It's just gonna,
When you say they, who is they? You're talking VDOT rebuild it,
yes. We
okay,
would-
at taxpayers' expense.
Yes.
But
Go ahead, Jody, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
I have Dave on speed dial. He's probably tired of me calling him, but have we spoken several times?
We have spoken several times, and I never get tired from hearing from any one of you.
The road's not intended for tractor trailer logging trucks, and I may have asked you or Will, well, why don't they go out the other way? Because they can't make it out the other way. So therefore, that road should be restricted to vehicles of that size. And I keep hearing, I don't ever get anywhere with trying,
They can come out the other way.
yeah, but if you cannot drive a vehicle all the way through a road, it's a horseshoe-shaped road. It comes out on Silverleaf Road.
Yes.
You can't drive a truck all the way through there. It should not be allowed to have that truck on there. Don't you all think that makes sense?
But now, if they can't drive all the way through, but they can go partial of the way through to the property that they own to retrieve the lumber that they want to get, you're saying they can't go into that,
Into what?
into their property?
Well, they can, but they've destroyed the road. But if they can't go all the way through that road, then I don't think a vehicle of that size should be allowed on that road. Yeah, I mean, I've seen I own property on Marion Road and on Silverleaf. I feel like I live on a dirt road. Silverleaf, they were in there today hauling tractor trailer after tractor trailer of logs out after we had snow and rain all weekend. I mean, no telling how bad it is today.
I haven't been out there this week.
Well, you ought to see Silverleaf Road. It looks like a dirt road. And, you know, I care about my neighbors. I'm not trying to stop anybody from logging. But on the other hand, you know, we live there. That's where we live.
Well, I spoke to the lumber company, and they were supposed to bring a water truck out. Now, I told them they couldn't wash the road when we were in freezing temperatures, because I don't want to go out there and create an ice skating rink either.
Well, that makes sense.
But they told me that they would at least once a day wash that road at the end of the day.
Well, in my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, you know, I went down there when they first started the logging and met with them. They said, look, we're just trying to make a living, man. Can't we make a living? And we're trying to be good neighbors. Well, I don't have a problem with them making a living, but they have not been good neighbors.
Well, we had DOT out, and they pulled every truck that came out of there.
That's beside the point.
And none of them were overweight. So, I mean, what's the restriction I'm gonna put on them? Tell me. what's the-
Vehicle length. There are roads that are restricted to vehicles based on the length of the truck.
Okay, but if we even start that right now, they're gonna be done, but before
Well,
we get that through.
It's like Mr. Riggin, or someone said, you know, we need to deal with it now so it doesn't happen again to somebody else.
Well, then I will have to get with Lisa on the procedure, but I'm pretty sure that you gentlemen are the ones that have to initiate that.
Well, I'm ready to do it. And if it takes a year, fine, but maybe it will keep from inconveniencing an entire neighborhood of fine people that have nice homes that can't even drive on a brand-new paved road. We just got our road paved again. You have to wash your car just like you live on a dirt road every day. And I'm already tired of it, and I know these folks are too. And
I can't blame them for being.
but I get the same story, and I understand. There's nothing I can do. Call the state police. State police go, there's nothing I can do. Call VDOT. Where does it stop?
So about the only thing that y'all can stop is if they're tracking mud in between tires out on y'all's road, correct?
Okay, where are they picking the mud up from?
From y'all's road, I get that, but I'm asking if that's all y'all can really do.
That's really about the only
Yeah.
thing we can do is stop them.
Looking at the law, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And
So
if they get to bringing the mud off the property onto y'all's road, then y'all can stop them at that point.
At that point, we can stop them, but with the road, the shape that it is up there, we can't
Right.
say that mud is coming from their lot.
Right.
Can you drive a bulldozer on a state-maintained road?
Not supposed to,
Not supposed to.
but that road's closed now.
No. I've seen bulldozers up past my house where it's not closed.
Okay,
So where do you go to get them to stop doing that?
that would be an enforcement issue.
State police, there you go. That's the same runaround I've been getting for weeks.
Would that be a state police issue or a VDOT issue?
Probably state.
Y'all own the road.
State police.
State police issue.
Are there any bridges on that road?
They've
Just
crushed
all-
every culvert. There are streams down there at the bottom of the hill. There's a stream right there that goes directly into a trout stream called Laurel Fork Creek, where the honeycuts live.
And we already have talked to DEQ on that, and they're supposed to be looking into it.
And the honeycuts will tell you about the antiquities site out there. And I'm concerned about that too, but I'm not going to trespass and go look at it myself, although I'd like to with Dave Riggin. But I don't know, I just don't feel like, I feel like we are getting the short end of the stick.
Well, I hate that you feel that way, but realize that these loggers have paid their licensing fees. They have paid their overweight fees. They've got their CDL license. I mean, they've got an investment in this too.
Well, they should never have been allowed to use trucks that size on that road, is my point. You know, and if it prevents this from happening in somebody else's neighborhood down the road, then I want to see that road restricted to vehicles that can actually drive from one end of it to the other.
Could you look into that, Mr. Durbin? If that's something that the county can do or request, or?
I can look into that. There is a state code about debris on the road if they're dropping debris, correct?
From the property that they're coming off of.
Yeah.
And we can also require them to sweep so many feet from their entrance. But the thing is, their entrance is back where it's all muddy at.
Yeah, from Silverleaf to their
Whenever
entrance
we're out on Silverleaf,
is
you're
about a mile and a half.
From where the issue is.
Will they, when this is said and done, will they hold any financial responsibility for repairing any of the road?
Probably not,
Probably not.
because the culverts and stuff, they don't have weight restrictions on them or nothing, I'm sure.
And I've heard from your maintenance man that they've already exhausted his maintenance budget on that road. You did say that you put more money into it, but
Yeah.
who's paying for that? Anybody in this room paying for all that?
Everybody in this room, along with the logging company, with their.
The logging
licensing
company.
fees and they're
I'd-
paying to use the road too.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I call on a couple of folks from the audience?
We could give them citizens time if they haven't signed up to speak.
Well,
I got one more question, if that's okay.
yeah.
And I'm not putting you on the spot, Brad, I see you sitting back there, but Division of Forestry has certain regulations, correct? Okay,
Yes.
I would appreciate you doing that,
Yeah.
Brad, thank you.
Brad's really good on the water and water quality and a lot of them things, so he'd be a good contact, so.
I would like to hear from him if he,
Yeah, we could welcome him to the,
And I do have-
if he's willing to do it, yeah.
I do have one other off-topic thing I'd like to mention, not related to this, and then perhaps even those that have already spoken, if they could get a little bit more time. Coming up 77 up the mountain, how do we restrict tractor trailers from the left-hand lane? I am tired of coming up the mountain, 3 abreast going 40 miles an hour.
Aren't they already restricted?
No. If there is, I haven't seen a sign.
Before I saw a sign
use 2 right
that
lanes.
said-
Use 2 right lanes.
I think it is
Yeah.
restricted.
Yeah,
Well, maybe it's enforcement again.
It's an enforcement.
it's an enforcement. It's the same thing coming up Poplar Camp.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
Thank you, Mr. Ledford, appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
So you want a recommendation to allow, anybody that hasn't spoke, would like to speak?
Diane was on the list.
Yeah, and then she declined her time, but, yeah. We'll let her have that.
I'd like to know if the county can get an accounting of how much these people have paid for permits and how much VDOT has put out to fix what they do. Because it just seems like it's a never-ending thing. I mean, I've been around logging roads and with normal trucks, it can be very pleasant. I'm woken up at 5:30 in the morning on some days and Saturdays, and I've gotten used to the incessant noise, but there's like days when I can't even get in my driveway because they've parked trucks in there because they can't maneuver them around. And and I can't find anything on easements because I didn't think that the easements were for commercial use. I thought it was like state use and utility use. But I don't even think before VDOT got there, they were chopping, they were ruining the sides of the roads already and chopping down trees that they had no right to chop. So can we get an accounting of that? Or even find out who the company is that's benefiting? Because I've spoken to the truck drivers because I'm screaming at them all the time. And he's like, we didn't even want to take the job. We knew this job was going to be hard with the equipment that we had. And, they had no choice. So can that happen? Well, who would I go to get an accounting? we should know where our money is going.
I mean, most of that that's been put out through there would be through VDOT. They don't really have to have a permit other than, coming onto the
That's
onto
it?
the
They
road.
just pay a little bit of money and then,
You get a blanket permit, am I correct, Brad? You just get a blanket permit, you can come off. I didn't see Mr. Leffler, is that correct? I thought you'd left.
I thought we were told, I was told by somebody that the money that they pay for licenses and permits is taken and used to fix the roads that they're destroying.
No, I would think they would get a blanket permit, am I correct, Dave? They'll get a blanket permit to be able to enter the road from that property?
They received a private entrance permit.
Which,
It was a logging permit, but we wrote it as a private entrance.
and
That way
what
it
does
was
that usually cost?
$100,
$100? And then how much have you guys put in?
probably about 30,000.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am,
Doesn't make that
just
much
address the
sense.
board, okay? All right, thank you. Mr. Carrico, are you willing to maybe address the board? Do we need to,
Well,
adjust the agenda for his time being with the forestry department, Mr. Durbin, or can we allow him citizen time?
Mr. Chairman, could Mr. Riggin speak just a little bit longer? He may have something that would.
Is it something different than what's been discussed?
I had an epiphany, if I might. Real quick. And this goes back to what a representative for VDOT was saying about the private company having to wash down Silverleaf to clear off the mud. Well, when I researched, and I did speak with Charles Ledford, your brother, or is that?
That's him.
Multiple names, okay. I asked about what's called a logging entrance. It's a Virginia DOD VDOT code 30-73-150, and it talks about logging entrances. And it's on there, it says, all mud tracked onto pavement must be cleaned, and I quote, immediately. Now, to me, immediately sounds a little extreme.
That's
But,
gotta be shoveled right off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what I was explained to me, and I understand, was their actual entrance is not on a county road. It's onto a private, or not a private, but a dirt road. So hence, they're not responsible for the mud they're pulling off the harvest onto our road. But, so I want to challenge VDOT then, since they were going down our road, pulling the mud off VDOT's road, isn't VDOT responsible to clean that Silverleaf Road every day? Because VDOT has absorbed themselves where the company does not have to be liable for cleaning up that mud, but VDOT's letting them tear up our road, which VDOT is now allowing the same thing to happen onto a paved road. So to me, the question would be, why isn't VDOT then held accountable to clean up Silverleaf every day?
That would be
That was just
A
something
state
I wanted to bring up.
recommendation.
The following, Mr. Early brought a great point up earlier to VDOT. When they looked at this road, which obviously no planning went into this, why didn't they have smaller trucks? Why did we have to have these huge trucks? Gentlemen, we see these smaller trucks all the time, and we know they're coming off tight roads. That would have made this whole thing so much easier. They wouldn't have been encroaching on people's property. They wouldn't have been tearing up Marion from one end to the other. And they're now destroying brand-new asphalt on Silverleaf. If you drive the edges, they're destroying all that, and that's only 3 months old.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Thank you for letting me come back.
And I will add one more thing that I'll okay.
Do we need to redo the agenda for him to have an opportunity to speak, or is it okay if he just speaks? He's going,
I would recommend the board amend the agenda to,
because he's a Forest Service employee, so he's just gonna give us enlightening on the thing, so, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Ham.
Just one thing. You know, they weren't 2 weeks into this operation. They'd already knocked down their mailboxes. They cut the bank off, moved mailboxes back. Took Mr. Honeycutt. Mr. Honeycutt can't even get to his mailbox and put a mailbox up there that he didn't like that location, but for other reasons I won't go into.
When did they start it, the operation?
Right towards the end of December, was it December timeframe? So they've knocked down mailboxes, they've hit a car. You know, they asked me if VDOT was going to cut those rocks off the last big curve before you get out into the open there on Silverleaf, because they saw orange flags. Those are survey flags from a sale. Has nothing to do with VDOT. You know, we all need to cut those rocks back so we can get our trucks through there. But anyway, it's a mess, and I think somebody needs to be cleaning Silverleaf.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to amend the agenda to allow time for Mr. Carrico
So moved.
from Forest Service.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion? All right, here none, I'll start with Mr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. McCrone.
Yes.
Mr. Dixon.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you, Mr. Carrico, for taking your time. Sorry to put you on the spot, but,
It's not a problem.
All right.
I suspect this might have.
okay. Mhm.
I'm mainly here to offer our assistance. You know, I've heard a lot of comments from the citizens during citizens' time, and I will give my office phone number here tonight if you
Okay.
want to call. So it appears like we've got a multi-jurisdictional issue going on here. I mean, you got state police, you got VDOT, and nobody here mentioned the Department of Forestry, so I'll let you know that we're involved too, okay? So forestry is, our jurisdiction falls on the harvested sale. Sorry, I'll
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
But the silvicultural operation, that's our jurisdiction. We have no jurisdiction on the state right of way, which I believe on Marion is 30 feet. 30 feet, yeah. So anything on the harvest site outside VDOT's right of way, we have jurisdiction. What we do, every timber harvest, they notify us 3 days prior to the beginning of the harvest. We go out and inspect within 20 days, and then we inspect every 45 days thereafter. And what we're looking for is sediment in the creek. And I heard a lot of the citizens talking about, concerns about the trout stream, and that's basically what we're looking to protect, is trying to keep the sediment from the logging job from going into these waterways. We've inspected it on schedule, and I will tell you that we have issued paperwork recommendations for them to revegetate portions of the job and to install drainage structures to reduce erosion. I heard someone talk about, so in the state of Virginia, there's no permit required to log.
No.
All they have to do is notify. So there's no money changes hands. And as far as the entrances and so forth like that, that's all tied to VDOT. So that they handle that portion of it. And as far as, my knowledge of the situation, the state police handles the mud on the road, correct? So that may be somebody that you all need to, contact a little closer.
Okay.
We are talking with the landowners about reforesting this tract. And one thing I want everybody to understand is, and Tracy, you know as well as anybody, when you cut trees grow back.
Yeah.
And that's something I'd be glad to talk to any of you all about the process that we go through these. So I'm not going to entertain questions here tonight.
Yeah,
But
I appreciate your time.
I'd be glad to talk to any of the board members.
Okay.
And my office phone number, if you want to write it down.
Mm-hmm.
540-387-5464.
Sorry, your name again, sir?
Brad Carrico. That's the Salem Regional Office. And I'll be glad to entertain any questions any of you. All right?
Thank you, Brad. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I got one more question for Mr. Ledford, please.
Okay.
You said, you said they were issued a private entrance permit? Is that customary for logging operations instead of a construction permit?
Yeah, we would do that. In that situation, if we would have given them a construction permit or a logging entrance permit, at the end of the job, they would have to tear it out.
Okay,
By giving them a private entrance permit, they are able to leave it in place.
okay.
Leave
I
the
just
culvert
wanted
in
some
the road.
clarification on that,
Mhm.
please. So, thank you.
All right, we'll move on then.
You need line of sight distance on that entrance?
Yeah, but with it being a private entrance, you don't restrict access. with
Well-
private entrance.
When I put my driveway in, I had to have line of sight.
Yes.
What's the
But
difference?
the thing was, did you meet the line of sight?
I did. I don't think they can where they are.
Well, the speed limit on the road would be 35, and I don't have the manual memorized on what the distance is,
Well, I know, but
but,
If they didn't have the permit, then it's probably
That's a new point.
yeah, it's one of those that
not really.
you've probably got a lot of entrances along that road that don't meet line of sight distance requirements. You got a lot of horseshoe bends and sharp turns in there that won't meet sight distance requirements. But they're a private entrance, the traffic count is low, the speed is low. And with it being a private entrance, we don't restrict access.
okay, well, I understand
Because, I
that.
mean, you get these properties that are a flag, what they call a flag lot. You got a 50-foot right of way to the road, and it goes up and then it branches out and comes back.
I know.
Well, if that 50 foot was in a spot that they didn't have sight distance, to build a house up on top of that hill, that lot would be dead.
Mhm.
It's not advisable because, I mean, we do this all the time. We ask the people whenever they call us for a permit to flag the location that they want it, and either Will or I will go out and inspect it. And if we see a better place, we'll recommend a better place.
Well, back to one comment, and then I'll leave this subject.
Yeah, we
alone.
need to move on.
Okay. I was with Mr. Honeycutt when the state police were out there, and we told him we were worried about the dirt on the road. There's an argument that says you're responsible to clean the road every day. Who's responsible? Silverleaf.
Silverleaf, it would probably be us, yes.
Okay. Well, is that something you can do?
I will try to get it into the maintenance schedule, yes. Like I said, the logging company offered to wash the road for me once a day. At the end of the day, if they were tracking heavy, I asked them to do it twice a day.
Well, there are clods of dirt up there the size of cantaloupes. I mean, it's huge. So it'd be nice if it was swept once a day.
If you'll look into that for us, we'd appreciate it.
I will check on it.
Thank you,
Thanks.
sir.
We'll see what we.
Thank you.
We have available.
I know, thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting as presented.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
All right, have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
All right, are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I so move.
All right, have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
All right, are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, next on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve the invoices as presented.
I so move.
All right, have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
All right, are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, next under new business, the adoption of the tax rate. Last Monday night, we had a public hearing. And I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed tax levy for 2023, the real estate at 59 cents, the personal property at $2.30, machine and tools at $2, and merchant's capital at 69 cents. Real estate per $100 of fair market value. Includes manufactured homes and public service corporations. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion that we approve the proposed tax levy.
All right, I have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
All right, are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start with voting with Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, the resolution for the Animal Health Laboratory. I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
That's in support of keeping it in Withville, correct?
From Christiansburg, or Blacksburg.
I make a motion, we adopt that resolution, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Early,
Yes?
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve the opioid settlement resolution.
I so move.
All right. Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes?
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Mr. Riggins. All right. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve the tax exempt for the Idaho Civic League.
I make that motion.
All right. Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion? I'll start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, under old business committee appointments, I'll entertain a motion to, I'll entertain a motion if anybody has one for committee appointments.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Janice Krotz for Department of Social Services from the Fancy Gap District.
All right, I have a motion for Mrs. Krotz for the Fancy Gap District Social Service Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Early.
Yes?
And I vote yes. This time, I'll entertain a motion for any other committee appointments the board would like to fill at this point.
I make
Make-
a motion to reappoint Marty Hall.
All right, I have a motion to reappoint Marty Hall to the EDA board. Have a second?
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes?
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Collins.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Are there any other committee appointments the board would like to take action on tonight?
Mr. Chairman, as I stepped down from the DSS at their last meeting, the Social Services Board, I would like to nominate Mr. Early to take my place.
All right, I have a motion for Mr. Early to serve on the DSS board in a vacant position previously held by Mr. McCraw. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Early,
Abstain?
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Are there any other committee appointments that the board would like to take action on at this point tonight? I don't think there's really no other positions that are open that can be filled. We're still working on a couple through the rec department, so. All right, with that being said, I'll move on the agenda to board member comments. I'll start with Mr. Early.
I've probably already said enough tonight, but, you know, I forget, it may have been you that mentioned the dirty word zoning. Who was it?
Mr. Reagan.
Mr. Riggin? You know, nobody wants to use that word or hear that word, but he's exactly right that, you know, we need some type of ability to control things like solar farms, windmills, other operations that are very offensive to the people that live in those communities. And, you know, it's a double-edged sword, I understand that. Education, I think, would go a long way, and I don't know where we are, Mr. Durbin, on land use ordinance, but I would like to see us move forward on that just as soon as possible.
I think you'll have a draft to review this week.
Okay. I know it's not going to be an easy sell. People are worried about being told what they can and can't do with their land. I'd say at least 95% of the people that are using their land the way they are today will be able to do that for the rest of their lives. If it changes hands and the use changes, then there's a board that reviews that gets to approve whether or not the zoning use changes. So it's not a heavy-handed government, although I think governments have misused zoning in the past. I don't think that's what we're going to do here. So I just ask that the board give it a good look, and let's try to preserve the beauty of Carroll County that in some places is being destroyed. Again, as usual, I thank the entire board and all the staff here that makes our job easier. Really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Collins?
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate everybody who came tonight and spoke and talked about their concerns. One of the things that when I ran for office that I ran on and said is when we run into these issues, I would love for us to use people in our county who have expertise and knowledge in areas that I don't, that maybe people on this board don't. I mean, we've got issues of roads tonight. Most frequently we see issues with water, with sewer, with whatever it might be. I would like for us to utilize people other than just ourselves that would help us come together and come up with some solutions to some of these things that we don't deal with every day. So I appreciate the folks who come and speak up and speak out, and hope that more will.
Mr. Hill?
Thank everybody for coming by and talking to us tonight. I sympathize with the folks down there. That's a lot of, this time of year is not the time to be logging, in my viewpoint, but anyway, that is what it is. See what we can deal with and go forward. And I want to thank the budget committee putting all their stuff together. It was a great looking budget. And that's all I got to say.
All right. Mr. McCraw?
I'd like to reiterate that what everyone said. I really appreciate this group that's come in and brought their concerns to us, and they are concerns. Marion is not a very nice road when you get on parts of it, and this all needs to be addressed, and it needs to be something that we can maybe look forward to in the future of creating something to prevent these things from happening again. And I do appreciate the budget committee and all the work that they've put into our budget and staff that's helped them with that. And it was a pleasure to vote for a budget that drops the tax rate 5 cents, the real estate tax rate 5 cents. Thank everybody, thank staff, thank all the board members for being here, and that's it.
All right. Mr. Dixon?
I just want to thank staff for everything you do. Of course, the sheriff's office, our fire and rescue, all our volunteers for everything they do for us daily. Thank everyone that came out and spoke to us, let us know what's going on in the county. I hope we can get some kind of solution for you all. I hate you dealing with it, but I do appreciate you coming and talking to us. That's all I have.
All right. I'll reiterate what everybody else has said. Mr. Early, I appreciate your passion about your community, just like every board member here is. That's why I enjoy serving with it, because if we have something that we're passionate about, we'll work hard for it. I will say that, Mr. Riggins, Mr. Early, I'll make myself available to help you what I can. I logged for 25 years of my life. My dad logged his whole life. So, I know what Mr. Carrico can do, and, a lot of times it's, with mercy of what VDOT says, they own the road, and to answer your question about some of the trimming and stuff, they can trim in VDOT right away as they're going out through the 30 foot. They can legally trim that with their permitting. So, but yes, anybody that's using that right away through that net entrance, they can do that 30 foot. Yes. But I do want to thank you all for coming. It's what makes Carroll County great is that everybody's passionate about our community and loves our community, and that's what makes it good. Thank Mr. Watson and Justin for all their work on the budget and getting our tax rate down where it needs to be. Thank Mr. Early and Mr. Dixon for all their hours and efforts on that as well. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to County Administrator. Well, one more thing. Also, there's a lot that's been going on in the paper about the county buying land and this and that. And, we have not voted on a purchase of a piece of property. I will say that. So, a lot of people have been calling me, asking me if we bought this or bought that. We're working through some negotiation parts of it, but, as far as we, the board, haven't voted on a purchase, so, at this point. So, as far as a number, I guess, move forward with the contract. So, with that being said, I'll move on to County Administrator comments.
One of the things
One of the things that I want to just bring up and give a little update on was broadband. I know that it's been a very important project to go through, and it's been a while since we had an update on it. We back in the November, December, we applied for a grant through VADI. I think it was actually in November, with the anticipation of having an award done middle to the end of December. For some reason why, there's been a holdup, and they haven't made any announcements yet. So we continue to follow up with DHCD. We've reached out to various people throughout the state, and haven't really got a clear answer of when they plan on announcing it. But as soon as they do announce it, hopefully we'll get a positive response. And I'll let the board also know that we still are working on it, but we're at the mercy of the state as far as when they're going to announce that. So we continue to look at the websites every day, continue to reach out, and just don't have a real good determination of when we'll know something. So.
All right. County Attorney comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no comments other than to just wish everyone a good evening, and hope everyone gets home safely tonight.
All right. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I so move.
All right. Have a motion. Have a second. Second. All right. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start voting. Mr. Hurley? Yes. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. McCraw?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
And I vote yes.